be a one-man band in certain positions. So it's a different type of person you need to look for. You need to look for a builder. In hiring the people, we made tons of mistakes, right? So like, we overbought into inventory. Instead of listening to our customers, instead of listening to what our customers said and the data of the product that our customer wants, we started listening to everybody that wasn't our customer. Everybody saying, oh, I will buy Milano if it didn't have Milano on everything, or I will wear this if it didn't say this. And it's like, we started making things based on what the people that weren't our customer was requesting versus just listening to what our customer wanted. And it caused us to multi-million-dollar mistakes. And like right now, we got over 33,000 units of items from past collections that would be considered this stock, right? And what, like, so my faith in God, right? You know 33 is yes. Jesus' number, right? So instead of allowing it to just, cause like I could easily just go on TikTok, make everything a deep discount sale and just try to sell through it. But what I did is I prayed on it, and again, God told me less success in sales, more success in souls. So what we're gonna do is do the Dreamers Uniform Tour. So we're going to connect with different schools, we're going to connect with different organizations, different youth programs, entrepreneurship programs, and we want to take the Dreamer uniform on a road. We want to give people the clothes so they can embody what Milano dreams. So instead of taking this as a loss, we're going to take it as a lesson, and we're going to be a blessing that God wants us to be to other people.
Yes, and I love that shift, that pivot, and how it feels more rooted and grounded, the brand, right? It feels like the messaging behind it feels very intentional, and it feels like there's community behind it. And I want to talk about pivoting, right? Shifting, because like Milan just said, she made $1 million mistakes in that scaling process, building that infrastructure. How do you react when you take $1 million loss or a big financial loss? How do you shift? How do you pivot?
Yeah, I think Milano hit on it, man. When you're scaling, the mistakes are bigger, the losses are bigger. Everybody sees the top line revenue numbers and they envy that. They're like, oh, I want to do that much in revenue, I want to do that much in sales, and they don't know what it comes with on the back end. You know what I mean? So the mistakes, there are higher stakes that you're playing with every decision that you make. You know what I mean? And scaling is just as dangerous as launching. There's plenty of brands that have gone out of business from growing too fast. We have been in situations where we've had dire situations just from trying to catch up to the growth so fast without the infrastructure that could handle it. I think the difference in the mentality is when you're first starting a business, especially in this industry, you have to wear all the hats. You're not gonna have the capital to hire a team. You've got to reinvest all the profits back into the business. So, I'm designing, I'm talking to the manufacturer, I'm in the warehouse filling orders, I'm answering emails, I'm running the social media, I'm doing all the things. When it's time to start scaling, a lot of founders have issues with, okay, how do I start delegating these tasks and taking myself from working so much in the business and now working on the business? And it's a tough transition because this means something to us, you know what I mean? It's like your baby, and you're trusting your baby with other people, and so these corporations that have existing processes and SOPs that people are used to plugging into, when you launch something out of your house, out of your car, out of your crib, you don't have those processes in place. We didn't have HR when we hired our first 10 people, and that was a mistake for us. So I think taking that step back and not chasing that next highest number, once you get things launched and get things going, it's okay, now what are the systems that I need to put in place so that my business can handle the scale? Once all the attention comes, once the demand comes, if your business can't handle it, it's gonna crush it. And so we're in that position right now, trying to build infrastructure while the brand is growing as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Manny, but it's just 3 of y'all behind Actively Black. You, your wife, and your mom, and y'all still scaling.
Yeah.
How are y'all doing that with 3 people?
One, we don't sleep, but where's Bianca?
Right there.
Please stand up real quick. This is the black woman behind Actively Black. I just want y'all to make sure y'all acknowledge her, because none of this is possible without her. She's been there from day one. Those two black women, Bianca Winslow and my mother, are the reason why I'm even sitting here in front of y'all being able to talk about Actively Black. We don't sleep. We don't sleep, literally.
And y'all just had the baby.
My son is here too. Tucson. Yeah, he is.
I don't know how y'all doing it.
That's the conundrum that a lot of black-owned businesses face is once you build that momentum, the demand often comes before you even have the systems in place or the infrastructure. So we're in the middle of trying to build the infrastructure while this thing is growing like crazy. So, we get those, you get your frustrated customers who are upset that your operations ain't working, like Nike or like Ralph Lauren, these legacy businesses that have been around for decades that have the infrastructure and the resources to be where they are right now. And one thing I just want to say for us as a people, we've got to learn to love and support our businesses and give our businesses grace through the growing pains. We're starting from underneath the ground. When we have these mistakes, I see so many black founders get killed online, get killed on social media. Those black founders who are getting killed, they've likely put their last dollar into what they built, and they're working from a place of overwhelm. They're working from a place of not having the same infrastructure that these white-owned brands that we will freely give our money to, that they have. And I just think we need to have that perspective. There's a book called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. If you're gonna start an apparel brand, I really highly suggest you read this book. Nike almost went bankrupt 5 times. 5 times. A bank bailed out Nike 5 times before they found their footing and then got to the place where they are. It took them 15 years to go public. You're seeing the machine now as it is after all of the bumps and bruises that they took. So that's what you see now. We need y'all to have grace for these black founders and these black businesses while we're making that same journey.
You've been really good about documenting the process. If anybody follow Milano D. Rouge, Milan Harris on Instagram, make some noise. I think that's one of your strengths. One of your biggest strengths is transparency, vulnerability. It feels like we've seen everything. And one thing you talked about is the difference in going from founder to CEO and shifting gears. What does that shift look like? What does that transition look like? And what advice would you give those in the audience who may be at that level or who aspire to get there?
I think that shift, so I feel like one of the things that I've been intentional about, right? When you say y'all don't get no sleep, it's not good. Not good. Y'all gotta get sleep. Because from a founder to a CEO, I think it's very important. I feel like so much of our effort is focused on the dream that we neglect the dreamer. And we so focused on achieving this next milestone and this next goal, but it's like, what about us? And everybody that you meet and everybody that you come across, how's business, but never, how are you? So one of the things that I'm really conscious of in this journey from founder to CEO is focusing on the dream, like me, So I can't pour from an empty cup. I gotta get rest. So I'm trying to go to sleep in a good amount of time, right? Because before I was surviving off of 3 to 4 hours of sleep. I was building my brand off of 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night. And it's a switch happened, and it's like, no, I'm not supposed to be running this business from pressure. I'm supposed to be doing this out of peace. And when I do things out of peace and out of pressure, I'm moving differently. I'm able to be still enough to allow God to use me and move me instead of me just trying to go on my own will. Because do you think that He don't want you to get rest? You're supposed to get rest.
I believe that, and I think that there are times where there's not going to be balance. You know what I mean? I think, and you're right, you can't neglect your mental health, your physical health, all those things. But when you're building something from nothing, there's not going to be balance in your life during those times. I mean, I've lost friends, I've lost family, all those things just because they didn't understand everything that I was devoting to what I was building. And so, but I think that's also that shifted mindset from launching to scaling is being able to step back, put the right people in place, put the systems in place that can do those things where you're not staying up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every single night. I'm struggling with that, so I'm gonna just be honest with y'all. I ain't there yet, but no, you're absolutely right.
So I do want to tell you too, from a founder to a CEO is visibility, right? So one of the things I realized was that I lacked visibility, I lacked clarity. I was literally dependent on everybody in my company to tell me what was happening with it. And you gotta understand, an employee ain't gonna tell you that they did something wrong. So they're gonna always make it look like things are going good. So me not having that visibility, I was making decisions out of the blind. I'm having meetings, I'm working truly hard trying to figure out, okay, like what do we do next? But I don't have visibility. And one of the things that, like even just as of recently, Jackie, I don't know if Jackie is in the audience, I was having a conversation about like all of the things that I'm experiencing. I'm like, I just wish I had a dashboard to see my entire company. I'm tired of relying on accountants to tell me something. I'm tired of relying on this production manager. I'm tired of relying on all these people to tell me these things. I wish I just could see everything on one dashboard. And I just so happened to be venting to her, and she's like, hold on. I created something exactly for this, and it's called Boost Cockpit. So she's been literally helping change my life and change my business within a matter of a few months. So that was something that was really helpful to me. And I feel like just as a CEO, understanding where your business is and being able to see it on one dashboard, you can make decisions instantly. I made decisions so quick, decisions that I felt in my gut, like, hey, I know I probably need to let this person go. Oh, hey, we need to switch this or we need to do this. I felt like I should have done them, but seeing them is a different story. When you see it, you're like, okay, nah, this gotta go, we gotta change this. So that visibility is making me operate so much differently. I'm operating and making data-driven decisions versus just my gut.
How close do you need to be to your business in that scaling process, right? Because when you go from founder to CEO, you said at one point you have 53 employees. Do you still need to be that close, or can you delegate and trust the people that you're hiring to take care of stuff?
I think you can delegate, and I think you should be able to delegate. I think you should be able to trust your team. But what I don't suggest you do is take your foot off of the business. You have to continuously go and like check on things. You can't be so far removed that everybody just reporting to you. You, a CEO, should be going to check on how are you doing things. So one of the things I just started doing, right? I just came back from China. It was one of the best trips ever. And I went to go talk to my manufacturer. Hey, how has it been working with us? How can we improve these processes? So like going back into the field, it allows me to understand who we truly need versus like just hiring who I think we need and understanding like what went wrong, what can we do better? How are you working with the other companies? Like what is the easy process? So I'm learning so much and I'm able to fix things in real time. So I feel like you should be able to delegate, you should be able to trust your team. I have an amazing team. Shout out to my team over there in the front. I have a great team. I love my team and I trust them. So I think that you should be able to do both.
And that's fair. You know, one of the things that I love about you both is you guys are both very loud about your faith. And your brands are purpose-driven and make community impact. However, we know sometimes the biggest blessings come from the darkest storms. So I wanted to ask, and I'll start with you, Lanny, what is one of the biggest mistakes or downfalls you've had in your business, and what did it teach you about business, about faith, about life?
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes we made was outsourcing to 3PLs too soon. That's a third-party logistics company. So when I launched That Could Be Black, I was out of my apartment in LA during the pandemic, and so when the demand was coming the way that it was, I couldn't have a bunch of people over at my apartment because of the restrictions. So I outsourced the fulfillment, which meant I sent my inventory to a third-party company who would then fulfill the orders. And it was too early in the business to do that. From them messing up orders, sending people the wrong things, taking too long, and then the customer doesn't understand that this is what's happening on the back end, they come in and act to be black. You know what I mean? They're like, this is why I don't support black-owned business. Not knowing that it was a white third-party logistics company that was messing up their orders. But that really taught me that I had to stay diligent on all the details and make sure that I could control all those facets of my business, especially early on, because it is a baby, it is an infant. And so one of the things that I think people here can take away from this is, like you said, knowing your dashboard, know your numbers, man. A lot of us, we get so caught up in the brand, building the brand, the idea, the logo, the website, the social media. And you gotta know your hard costs, your COGS, the cost of goods sold. How much does it cost for your inventory? How much does it cost to ship it? How much does it cost to store it? How much is your marketing and your advertising? All of those things you have to calculate when running your business. And far too often, especially for us, a lot of black founders, we don't have that visibility, or we're not focused on those details. And then it comes back to bite us later on. So I would say that was an early mistake that really helped me to refocus and making sure I knew every detail of my business.
Thank you for sharing that. Milan, you opened up a flagship clothing store in Philly back in 2016. Big moment. You've had a lot of milestones. That was one big one as well. What happened to that store? When and why did it close, and what did you learn from that?
So that store was doing really great. We was doing numbers out of there. That was the trick. But during COVID, we had to shut it down. So when COVID happened, literally we had to shut it down. And we reopened in 2023, but we only opened for a few months because once I realized, I'm like, our brand outgrew the store. And I didn't want to reinvest in getting it remodeled because I ended up buying the building next door. And it just was it was a learning curve. When I bought the building, I had to go through zoning, years of zoning, and I'm just like, all right, let me just focus on online e-commerce. But yeah, it was a learning curve. It was a learning curve.
And what, so you said that learning curve. I mean, I know you have to take things day by day. How do you find the support and the resources and the information when you're doing something like so brand new? Like you said, you brought stores, you brought up buildings, zoning laws, things that you have never even thought about. Where do you get that information and that help so you can make these decisions?
To be honest, I didn't have it. So I didn't have any mentors. So literally, I'm just doing things based off of my gut and like just trying to trust the process. Because had I had mentors, I had other people to tell me how I should do things, I would have did it way differently. I wouldn't have invested in certain things. I wouldn't have made certain decisions. But when you don't have many people that's willing to like open the door and give you advice, you gotta be able to just make decisions and keep it moving. So I've learned a lot of costly lessons. Like scaling a business it's not for the weak. It's an expensive lesson.
And I know we gotta wrap soon, but I also want to say, because a lot of people have like DM me, like, hey man, can you mentor me and do these things, and not understanding, man, literally, I don't have time for myself or my family that I'm working on, but the investment in yourself to continue learning is probably the biggest investment that you can make. I don't come from any background in what I'm doing. I literally went to YouTube University to learn everything that I'm doing right now. I spent months and months and months on YouTube watching hours and hours of video just to learn how to work Photoshop and Illustrator because I didn't go to design school. So just so I could learn how to make my own mock-ups, I taught myself how to build my own website. I taught myself how to use the social media. Those are things that I just invested the time myself, that I spent those hours alone that nobody saw. That's something that we can all do before you reach out for a mentor. Do everything you can to educate yourself on whatever you're getting into. I think that's very important. And then I know there's some people here that want to start apparel brands. This is a hard game. I want you to know that. And I want you to understand not to measure yourself by anybody else's success. Your journey is going to be your journey. Your road is going to be your road. You may not see the failures and the losses. We experience them every single day. Don't look at somebody else and think that's where you're supposed to be. Start where you're at. if this is something that's purpose-driven, if this is something that God has put in your heart, that you go to sleep every night thinking about, that you wake up every morning thinking about, do everything that you can to learn what you got to learn and put that thing out into the world and go after it. And if however long it takes, that's what it's going to take. Don't measure yourself by anybody else's timeline.
Okay. We are out of time, but before we do Milan, I'm gonna give you the last word. This is an audience of business owners, entrepreneurs, hustlers, and creatives. What would you tell them in 10 seconds or less about building and scaling a brand?
I would just say, every decision you make, just make it with God. Ask Him the direction, because I just feel like having somebody steer you in the right direction is just priceless. So, like, I've learned to not do things on my own will, and I'm just allowing Him to direct me and order my steps. So that's what I will leave y'all with. Just keep Him first, ask Him for guidance, and don't be afraid to pivot. If something not working, just pivot. Try a different way. Don't keep going in the wrong direction.
That part.
So yeah, I just gotta say this one last thing. We at InvestFest, so I thought this was gonna be the perfect place to make this announcement. When you're talking about scaling, a lot of times we talk about Black-owned brands not getting that support from the outside. So what we're gonna do with Actively Black, I want Actively Black to remain Black-owned, and not just because the founder is Black-owned, but because the tribe is Black. So starting this week, we are actually gonna open up to allow the tribe to invest and own a piece of Actively Black. So go to activelyblack.com. You can join the wait list for you to have that opportunity. I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew, man, we're gonna build this with the tribe.
Amazing. Give it up, y'all. One time for Milan Harris and Lanny